think one of the first books I ever read to do with carp fishing was Kevin Maddox's Carp Fever, and I've got that. I've been divorced because of fishing. I'm completely addicted to it, completely submerged in it. I've done every type of carp fishing, whether it's match fishing, fishing for bites, fishing for big fish. Back in the day, when I was a kid, getting contacted by Rod was like Man United. There was Kev Clifford's out there, Tim Paisley, Rod Hutchinson, and I turned around and said, there's no such thing as a big fish bait. And all three of them laughed at me. You know, I am, at heart, I'm a keep it reeler. But the problem with keep it real is the hypocrisy. It has never ever been about the money for me. None of it has. None of it has at all. It's only ever been about enjoying my life. The wrong uns and right uns issue, it's a very, very grey area. We'll all argue about it as much as we want. No one's right, no one's wrong, but it's down to the pure love of fishing. And if that young lad wants to go and fish for wrong uns, then enjoy it, and that's the magic of fishing. Really.
I think thankfully that does seem like an area that we can sort of leave behind, so doesn't it? It feels to me like that's gone. Yeah. You know, the kind of divisive nature of that wrong un versus thoroughbred in inverted commas. Yeah. That feels to me like
I always remember, let me just say this, I always remember Carp Talk getting an absolute bashing probably about 20 years ago when a big 40-pound leather got caught from Ringstead, and we stuck it on the front cover of Carp Talk. And in the office, we had for many, many years had this difficulty of printing what's right and what's wrong, because we'd been sued. We'd actually been sued by a company from a lake in Lincolnshire where we'd said the fish were imported, and Clifford will tell you the ins and outs of it, but it was very difficult for us to say what was right and what was wrong and slag fish off and things like that, so we had to be careful what we printed. And when that fish got caught from Ringstead, we stuck it on the front cover and put as a headline, "Look what's just been caught from Ringstead." And it was basically letting everybody know what had just been caught from Ringstead. If we'd have put that on page 40, it'd have probably not been noticed. And carp fishing, as in the Chile lot, the Keeping Real gang, wouldn't have probably been as vocal about what was going on in the UK, and wouldn't have even seen that fish because it had just got swept over. So there was a purpose behind us writing the story on that occasion where we stuck on the cover, and it was to let people be aware that this kind of thing is happening, you know, in England. But yeah, you're right, it needs to be swept under the carpet, and we just need to go fishing and enjoy it.
I think we've moved on as an industry. I really do. It's not a debate that I hear anymore, really.
Yeah. I still hear it. I still see it on social media. Yeah, you do. You know, when Wayne Mansfield caught the 70-pounder he caught last year, and there was that debate going on about it and things. And I commented on that because I turned around and I said that great catch by Wayne, you know, and it always will be. The fish in Home Fen are magnificent fish. Would I fish? Of course I would. They're beautiful carp. They're lovely carp. They're grown on from the sizes that they were put in. But should it be a record? Well, no, of course it shouldn't, because what's a record carp from England? It's the biggest carp ever caught in England, right? So what's the biggest carp ever caught in England? An 83-pounder. That's the biggest carp that's been caught in England. But it was spawn bound. Oh, a load of nonsense. Oh, it's something wrong with it. It got water that was being absorbed into it because its kidneys had bust. Well, so would Yates's. So would Roddy Porter's fish. You know, people forget about the history of carp fishing when they're making discussions nowadays. And I remember saying something about that 83-pounder from down in Kent that was caught from the Wingham estate. And your mate Oscar Thornton commented, he said, you prick, blah, because I turned around and said, that's the UK, that's the biggest carp caught in England. You prick. You know, you're knocking his fish. I'm not knocking anybody's fish. It's the biggest carp caught in England, an 83-pounder. Just because the guy didn't want to claim it as a record. You know, there was controversy over Yates's fish when it wasn't accepted. It wasn't accepted because it was spawn bound and all this kind of stuff. So until that fish gets caught over 83 pounds, in my mind, it ain't a British record. And you can't go down the keep it real route of Dean Fletcher's fish was a proper one and all this kind of stuff. When does a fish become unhealthy? When does a fish become healthy? When is it a wrong and when is it a right? And just go on the biggest fish that's caught. If a fish gets imported at 86 pounds from Euro Aqua and gets put in one of the lakes and gets caught, is it a British record? Well, in my mind, it ain't, because it's not grown on in England. And we've all got our own views on what is a grown on carp in England. Some people think it is from a small fry to whatever its size eventually comes. Some people think it's about halfway between the record size and the the weight it was put in.
Do you think the British record as an institution is something that will continue, Si, or is it something that interests you still, for instance?
It interests me because it's England at the end of the day, and I love England. I'm a very passionate person about England, and I think for the history of carp fishing, it needs to be a part of what it is. But unfortunately, when an 83 pounder has been caught and it's not an inspirational picture of a fish, then like the wazing fish is, people aren't going to inspire to try and catch it. But until that fish gets caught, I don't think the British record discussion will ever be agreeable amongst all of us. Even nowadays, the BRFC, they're a bit outdated. You still have to sign documents to sort of apply for a British record. Well, if you've got witnesses there, you can even film it, can't you, nowadays? But they won't accept that for a British record claim. And they won't accept things done in the modern day world. It has to be done in the olden day world, which things just need updating a little bit. But there definitely still, to me, in my mind, is some kudos towards being a British record holder, without a doubt.